Yo, welcome back to Cage Calculated. Today, we've got the London card. Oh my days, the London card. This card's ass, by the way. It's pretty much a Cage Warriors fight with Evloev and Lerone Murphy headlining it, which is a good fight. That is a great fight. God forbid Evloev pull out and ruin this entire card. But, Wing C's fighting this weekend. I'm going to be watching that more than I'm going to be watching this. So, just putting that out there. Also, we got March Madness on. We got the basketball jerseys up for that reason. Clyde Drexler, Shaquille O'Neal, the point guard, Chris Paul. Love my basketball jerseys. I'm also coming off of flying for about almost 16 hours yesterday. I flew up to see my folks up in Seattle. And, I'm definitely coming down with something. So if my voice sounds weird or I sound a little stuffed up, I apologize. I'm going to try and troop through this as best as possible. But definitely feel the effects of flying, and I hate airports with a passion. But regardless, we still have the London card to talk about. I'm going to try and keep the British accents down to a minimum. And let's get it started, man. We'll start out with a women's MMA fight. Yay! Melissa Mullins versus Luana Carolina. Mullins is 1-2 in her last 3 fights. Did have a unanimous decision loss to Daria Zalesniakova. Did get knocked out by Nora Cornhole, so that's not great there. Did have a knockout win versus Claudia Saigula, so she does have some decent knockout power. 57% of her wins do come from knockout. 33% of her fights do end in the first round. Does throw a decent amount, has 50% accuracy. 4.39 strikes absorbed per minute isn't great, especially in the women's bantamweight division when some of these ladies do have power. 86% takedown defense for Melissa Mullins. Just looks decent. Not great. Not bad, but just decent. Luana Carolina is coming off a loss as well to Michelle Montague. 27% of her wins do come from knockout. Almost 65% of her wins come from decision. So she's kind of a decision merchant, and that's pretty much what happens in women's MMA. Does mix up her strikes pretty well. I think this fight's going to be pretty close. I'm going to go Luana Carolina. I think she just has a better, well-rounded striking arsenal than Melissa Mullins, and I think if this fight goes to the ground, she's going to be fine. I just see this fight being kind of boring to watch. I don't think she's that bad of a prospect, and Melissa Mullins I think is just a little bit worse than her. Regardless, we're all gonna have to watch this fight a little bit earlier than we want to, and having to tune into a women's bantamweight bout earlier in the day isn't gonna be great. But I'm gonna go Carolina by unanimous decision. I think she has what it takes to get this one done. Next fight, we have another women's MMA fight. We have a women's strawweight bout, Chanel Dyer versus Ravina Oliveira. Dyer is coming off unanimous decision loss in the Contender Series. Somehow we're still signing people that lose in the Contender Series. Yo, what's the question? Yeah, dude, we're signing Chanel Dyer. She may have lost in the Contender Series, but she impressed me. God forbid we help some of the prospects in our heavyweight division and make this division actually worth a damn. No, we're going to sign people who lose in the Contender Series now. Deal with it. Watch it, kid. If you don't want to watch it, don't then. That's what we're dealing with. It's just a joke. But regardless, she had 66% of her wins by knockout, 33% by decision. Does have some serious power, and I think she does have a good amount of striking. She does throw a lot. She does take a lot of punishment, though. Her strike absorption rate is pretty high, especially in that one loss. So we'll see if that comes into factor in with this fight. But Ravena Oliveira is kind of just a goober in this division. Coming off of 2 straight losses against Tainara Lisboa, which was a unanimous decision loss, got submitted by Steph Luciano. She does have power. 86% of her wins are by knockout, but doesn't throw a lot. 1.4 strikes landed per minute at 29% accuracy isn't something that jumps off the page for me. Has okay takedown defense, has okay striking defense, but I expect this fight to be a stand and bang fight, and I expect Chanel Dyer to be able to take advantage of that. I think she's going to throw with a lot of volume, throw with a lot of different strikes, some head kicks, maybe some body work. I think she's going to really mix it up, make Ravina Oliveira really work, put her up against the cage, and this could be a sneaky TKO, but I am going to go Chanel Dyer by unanimous decision. I think she has the skill set necessary to beat a Ravina Oliveira. Up next, we got Shamrock versus Abdul Karim Al-Sawaidi. Shamrock, man, he's not bad. He's not that bad. Is kind of a submission specialist, does have some height and reach advantage in this one. Is coming off a unanimous decision loss against Narulo Alayev in his UFC debut, but that's a tough prospect, man. Shamrock isn't that bad. I think he has around 75% of his wins coming from submission, so he's obviously doing something right. He can threaten from a lot of different places. Al-Sawaidi is coming off a loss against Loic Razdahabov. That was a knockout in the 3rd round, but does have a unanimous decision win against George Hardwick in the Contender Series. Shout out the brother of George Hardwick, by the way, Harry Hardwick. We watched him last week. Hope your jaw is feeling better, King. Absolute masterclass of a fight with him and Marwan Rahiki. He is a warrior. Regardless, though, 53% of Abdul Karim's wins do come from knockout. Does have some knockout power. Does have the first round finishing rate. Does throw a decent amount, but does absorb a decent amount. His takedown defense is something that is really going to go into my pick, though. 20% takedown defense. That's just not good enough against Shamrock. Shamrock is going to take him down. Shamrock is going to threaten from so many different places. He's got the Kimura in his bag. He's got the arm bars. He's got the headlocks. He's just got it all. I see Shamrock being able to submit him probably in the second or third round. Maybe even Abdul Karim wins the first round, and I'm not trying to fence sit here. But I think Shamrock is just an inevitability of him getting Al Soweidi on the ground and then submitting him. I'm going to go Shamrock by sub. Up next, we got, oh my days, Louis Sutherland, the Scottish Hammer, taking on Brando Pericic in a heavyweight bout. And this is a decent fight. Neither of these guys have been knocked out in their career, and both these guys have knockout power. So we'll see who takes advantage of that in this fight. I think Louis Sutherland does have serious knockout power. 80% of his wins do end by knockout. He is coming off a loss, a heel hook loss by, you guessed it, Walter Walker. He does that to everybody, but Louis Sutherland did lose in his UFC debut, but I don't think that's an indicator of how his career is going to go. He is a decent prospect at that, and like I said, he's never been knocked out. But Brando Pericic is coming off a first-round knockout win against Elisha Ellison in his UFC debut, has a height advantage in this one, has the reach advantage in this one. He's never been knocked out either, like I mentioned before, and has a 3-fight win streak. I'm going to go Brando Pericic. I think he's on the right side of momentum. Louis Sutherland losing to Walter Walker just kind of maybe shoots him down just a little bit. And I think the reach advantage is going to be huge in this one. Whoever can find the chin first is going to get a knockout. And I do believe there's going to be a knockout in this one. I have Brando Pericic by knockout, possibly TKO if he's able to get some ground and pound on him. But someone's getting knocked out in this one, probably in the first or second round. And I'm going to go with the momentum pick with Brando Pericic. Up next, Antonio Tricoli versus Mantas Contratavicius, I think is how you say his name. Antonio Tricoli, this dude gets mauled by everyone in the division. He got submitted by Trayshawn Gore. Are we dead ass, dude? Got subbed by Mansour Abdul Malik. That's part of the game. And then got knocked out by Shar Bullet. So they're kind of feeding this guy to the wolves, but he is kind of just a fraud in this division. Likely needs to go back and reevaluate at some different promotion, most likely. But regardless, this is no disrespect to Antonio Tricoli. He does have a height and reach advantage in this one, does have knockout power, does have submission ability, but his takedown defense isn't great. It's just not. And his strike absorption rate isn't great either at 5.55. The dude has fought monsters, but I think Mantas Contratavicius is that good. I think he will get a win in this one. He's coming off a first-round knockout win in the Contender Series, which I don't try and overreact to Contender Series wins, but he has 3 straight first-round knockouts. I'm going to ride the momentum. I'm going to go Contratavicius by knockout. Something kind of scary and a little bit worrisome is that Contratavicius has been subbed before, and I could see Antonio Tricoli taking the back at some point and threatening a submission, but I think Contratavicius has the power, has the knockout ability, and is able to get inside the pocket and really pressure up Antonio Tricoli. I expect this fight to end in the first round as well. Up next, Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. And if you don't know about Mario Pinto, this is a guy you should be getting excited about in the heavyweight division. We don't have a lot of fighters who I am super pumped about at heavyweight, but good Lord, Mario Pinto is an absolute monster. Dude is super athletic. The dude has ground game. The dude has knockout power. He looks like a well-rounded prospect, and especially at heavyweight, we need that right now. He has 3 straight knockout wins against Jonta Dinez, Austin Lane, and Lucas Camacho. Has a 5-inch height advantage in this one, 3-inch reach advantage in this one. 64% of his wins do come from knockout, 45% in the first round. Throws with immense accuracy, 79% accuracy. Has some takedowns, 2.72 takedowns at 60% accuracy. Just looks like a monster, 100% takedown defense. This dude just looks really, really good, and I expect this to be a great showcase of his skills and possibly get him a ranked matchup after this. Franco, no disrespect, is coming off a loss in the Contender Series. Did have 2 straight regional scene fights that he did win by a finish recently, but there's levels to this game, and Mario Pinto is that good. I don't think I'm going to take in too much of the stats, Felipe Franco. I'm not going to try and overthink this one. I'm going to go Mario Pinto by TKO. I think he's going to just get an absolute bomb on him in the first round, get some ground and pound. The referee's going to stop the fight. Mario Pinto is going to look like an absolute beast. He just looks awesome. And go watch his highlights. Mario Pinto is the real deal. Up next, we got Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood. Who doesn't know the game of Nathaniel Wood? I'm sorry. I keep doing the British accent, but Nathaniel Wood, dude. You cannot not say it by a British accent versus Lozine Kita. This is an interesting one. This is a really close fight, in my opinion. Nathaniel Wood is coming off of 3 straight unanimous decision wins, most notably one against Jose Delgado, who did win last weekend. So I like Nathaniel Wood, man. He's a good fighter. He's fought some of the best, and especially prospect-wise in the featherweight division. Does have knockout power, does have submission ability. throws it around 5.74 strikes landed per minute, 52% accuracy, has some takedowns, has decent takedown defense, has decent striking defense. He looks like a good prospect, man. And I expect him to be good and make this fight really, really close. But Lozin Kita, he's 16-1, and his only loss has been because he got injured. And I think if it goes down to a decision, they're going to lean on the side of Lozin Kita. I know that it's going to be a British crowd who's going to be biased towards Nathaniel Wood, but Lozin Kita is a real deal. There's not a whole lot of stats behind his name. This guy's kind of unknown. 63% of his wins do come from knockout, 38% by sub. He does have a 30% first round finish rate, has a height advantage in this one, has a reach advantage in this one. This is such a close fight, and I genuinely could see Nathaniel Wood winning this in a decision, but I'm going to go Lozin Kita by knockout. I think he's going to use that reach advantage to his ability. I think he's really going to threaten from the ground, threaten in the clinch. I think Lozin Kita is just a little bit better, and I think that some of the unknowns coming to this one is really going to play into it. You don't know what Lozin Kita's game plan is, and I think that's really going to hurt Nathaniel Wood's mindset going into this one. I'll go Kita by knockout, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Nathaniel Wood did win this one by decision. It just seems like that's kind of his style. We'll see what happens. This is, again, a super, super close fight. Up next, another really close one, and Axel Sola, I did talk about him in my prospect video. He is a super exciting prospect, and I do think he is going to be a problem in this lightweight division. Mason Jones is coming off a really good win versus Balaji Oki, did knock him out, had a unanimous decision win over Jeremy Stevens. 6 straight wins for Mason Jones, and 47% of his wins end in knockout. Does have a good strikes landed per minute rate. Lands solid takedowns, almost 4 per 15 minutes. Has solid takedown defense at 81%. Both of these guys are really, really good. I mean, Axel Sola is coming off a 3rd round KO in the Dana White Contender Series, has knockouts, has sub ability. Just can't really talk about his stats too much because he does have a limited UFC experience. I was fence sitting this one so difficult, and I'm probably still going to do it, but I have flip-flopped Jones and Axel Sola so much. I am going to go Jones by unanimous decision. I think he has just better experience. I think that win streak's really going to help him in this one, and I think he is the real deal. Axel Sola is going to make this incredibly close, and I won't be surprised if he's able to get some serious knockdowns, some real big punches, some real big damage on Mason Jones. It's going to be close. It's going to be really, really close. And again, I'm not trying to fence sit this one too much, but I'm going to go Jones by unanimous decision. My final answer. I'm going to just stick with it. Up next, we got Curtis Campbell, man. Curtis Campbell, the Pink Pantheress. I mean, I had to find the most egregious picture I could possibly find of him versus Danny Silva. Curtis Campbell is coming off a first-minute KO in the Dana White Contender Series. Does have 62% of his wins end by knockout, 50% in the first round. Like I said, for some of these guys, I can't take in their stats because they don't have enough UFC experience. This is a main card fight, by the way. Just want to make that clear. Main card fight, and this dude has never had an actual UFC fight other than the Dana White Contender Series fight. Just want to put that out there. Danny Silva is coming off a unanimous decision loss to Kevin Vallejos, his only UFC loss so far. 50% of his wins end by knockout, the other 50% by decision. Does land a lot at 55% accuracy. It has some takedowns, 82% takedown defense, and I think that's really going to play into my pick. I think Curtis Campbell loves to go for the takedown, wants to try and bring this fight to the ground, get some serious ground and pound, and I think Danny Silva is really going to be game plan for that. I think his coaches are going to do a great job to try and make sure he stays on the feet, and I think he has an advantage on the feet. I think he has the knockout power to get this one done. I know he's an underdog in this one, and I know he's the American having to travel to go see the Brit in Britain, but I'm going to go Danny Silva by unanimous decision. I think that he's just really going to make this fight his own, make Curtis Campbell fight on the feet, stay out of the power shots, stay out of the range for takedowns, really threaten from all different sorts of areas. I think Danny Silva gets this one done and wins over in Britain. Up next, we got Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. This fight's interesting, man. I think if this fight does go to the ground, I think Roman Dolidze does have an advantage, but Christian Leroy Duncan kind of goofs off sometimes in the cage. He's going to win this fight, in my opinion. I have him winning this one by unanimous decision. Roman Dolidze is coming off a loss by submission from Anthony Hernandez. Does have wins. We know the Roman Dolidze story. Wins against Marvin Vettori, wins against Kevin Holland, beats Anthony Jobber Smith. He's a good ground and pound, ground striking fighter. I don't love it for this fight. I think Christian Leroy Duncan is going to keep this fight on the feet. He has a reach advantage in this one. 77% of his wins end by knockout. He does have the striking. He does have the takedown defense. I'm just going to not overthink this one. Christian Leroy Duncan gets it done, gets ranked. Roman Dolidze finally leaves the rankings. And thank God, because I'm sick and tired of seeing this dude headline fight nights. It's just, I'm sick of it, dude. So let's go Roman Dolidze. losing to Christian Leroy Duncan, and Leroy Duncan winning by unanimous decision. Up next, Iwo Baraniewski versus Austin Lane. How this is a main card fight is beyond me. I know Iwo Baraniewski versus Ibo Aslam was such an insane round fight where they both knocked each other down 2 different times, but that doesn't warrant him a 4th fight on the main card. That's ridiculous. And Austin Lane, this dude is 1-4 in his last 4. I'm not going to overthink this one. I mean, Baraniewski, he has the first round finishes, 5 straight first round knockouts, 2 first round subs. He looks insane. He just looks really, really solid. Austin Lane, 1-4 in his last 4. Got knocked out by Mario Pinto. Subbed by Petrino. Is now moving down to light heavyweight. Has a reach advantage, has a height advantage in this one. But again, I'm not going to overthink this one. This feels like Austin Lane is being fed to the wolves. Iwo Baraniewski by knockout. This is something they put on the main card to just get people excited because there's going to be a finish in this one. Iwo Baraniewski is going to get it done. Not even really a thought or a choice in my mind. I'm just going to go Iwo Baraniewski. Although, by the way, why does it look like Austin Lane isn't wearing pants? Doesn't it look weird? He looks like a Michael Morales build the way he's standing. It looks just weird. I'm not trying to infer anything, but I put that picture on there and it kind of grossed me out a little bit. It's just kind of strange, but whatever. Iwo Baraniewski, get it done. Up next, we got MVP Michael Venom Page against Sam Patterson. Sam Patterson was one of my prospects I talked about on my video before. Go check it out. But MVP, man, he's beat Char Bullet. He beat Jared Cannonier in his most recent 2. 54% of his wins end in knockout, but he hasn't really been knocking people out so far in the UFC. 2.39 strikes landed per minute at 60% accuracy. Doesn't absorb a lot of strikes. Has 67% takedown defense. Sam Patterson, on the other hand, 4 straight first-round finishes, 2 submissions, 2 knockouts. 47% of his fights end in the first round. Throws a lot, around 45% accuracy, 1.39 takedowns at 100% accuracy so far in the UFC. 3.93 strikes absorbed per minute at 50% strike defense, 33% takedown defense. This is a close one for me. This one is incredibly close because MVP has kind of looked mid since getting in the UFC. And I know, he's had these crazy knockouts, and that was in the regional scene in England. Sam Patterson looks like the real deal. I have MVP by unanimous decision written in my notes, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to trust my instinct. I think MVP is going to be able to strike at range, really use his ability to stop the takedowns. I think he's just such a strange fighter to game plan for. Sam Patterson, I would not be surprised if he flukes a knockout. And it's not even really a fluke. If he gets a knockout or gets a submission, if he's able to get MVP to the ground, it becomes a really serious fight for MVP, where Sam Patterson can threaten from a lot of different places, and he uses his frame so well to get submissions. But I can't go against MVP. This one's a tough one. These are some close fights in this card, man. This is a close one, but I'm going to go MVP by unanimous decision. I'm going to trust my gut. I just think he's going to get it done. Then we have the co-main event. Luke Riley somehow, again, making the co-main event. How that's possible is beyond me when he's only had 1 fight, a UFC debut against Bogdan Grad, which it was a second-round knockout. Cool, congratulations, but that doesn't warrant you a co-main event. Regardless, we have to watch it. So Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell. Luke Riley, 75% of his wins from knockouts. I can't take into his stats too much because he's only had the 1 UFC fight. But Michael Aswell is coming off a knockout win versus Lucas Almeida. He's 1-2 in the UFC, lost to Balaji Oki, lost to Bogdan Grad. And I'm not going to overthink this one. Luke Riley beat Bogdan Grad. Michael Aswell lost to Bogdan Grad. Give me Riley by KO. I think he's going to get it done pretty quickly and hype up the crowd. I think the UFC knows exactly what they're doing, putting this dude as a co-main event. Everyone in Britain is super excited about this dude, but again, I don't think it warrants him a co-main event. That is no disrespect. I'm just saying, like I see it, I don't think this dude warrants that. Luke Riley by knockout. Then we get into the main event of the evening, and this one is going to be fun, man. Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. Someone's got to lose their 0. Someone is getting a 1 on their record. Movsar Evloev hasn't fought in a year and 3 months, seems to pull out of a lot of fights. Now, most of it isn't his fault. I think he's had 11 fights get canceled that he's been involved with or it's been booked. A lot of it hasn't been his fault. It's not a great look, especially for a guy that's pretty early in his MMA career and seems to have a lot left in the gas tank. 16% of his wins end in knockout, but 63% of his wins end in decision. And he's been a decision machine so far in the UFC. UD'd Aljamain Sterling, UD'd Arnold Allen, UD'd Diego Lopez, UD'd Danny Ige. The dude's pretty much taken out everyone at featherweight. Likely whoever wins this fight will take on Volk. Lerone Murphy had a crazy spinning elbow knockout versus Aaron Pico. crazy highlight, but I mean, people kind of forget that this dude was kind of a unanimous decision winner too. This dude won a lot of his fights by decision, had decisions against Josh Emmett and Dan Ige. I don't know, man. I can just see this fight going to a decision, and if it goes to a decision, I have to go Movsar. Movsar has the striking. He has the takedowns, 4.67 takedowns at almost 50% accuracy. Doesn't absorb a lot of strikes, 61% strike defense. Lerone Murphy gets taken out a lot. And I know he looks awesome. I know the highlight was super, super cool, but he has 51% takedown defense. That's not great. That's not going to be good enough for Movsar Evloev. Movsar is going to look awesome in this one. I think he's really just going to smudge up Lerone Murphy, really just use the takedowns to his advantage. I think he's just better. And I think he's just better. I think the odds makers got it right. I think Movsar should even be a bigger favorite in this one. I'm going to go Movsar winning this one by a unanimous decision. I think he's just able to use the takedowns and really smudge up Lerone Murphy. This is one of those fights that I hope I'm wrong, because if Lerone Murphy gets some awesome fluke knockout against Movsar, it would feed families, and especially the crowd in London would be going absolutely insane. But I just think they're going to be in for just a grappling masterclass from Movsar, and I'm going to just stick with that. Evloev wins this one by unanimous decision. But all that being said, appreciate y'all watching this video. Go check out our socials. Go check out the Instagram. Go check out the Twitter. Go check out our TikTok. Also, let me know who you have in these fights. Let me know what fights I got wrong or right, or if you agree with me. Let me know. Also, March Madness this weekend. I'm going Arizona to win it all. I'm just saying, that's my pick. I don't watch a whole lot of college basketball, but I figured I should include that into this video. But appreciate y'all watching. Hope y'all have a good weekend. See ya!